Everybody, please welcome Big Funky Sam.
Yeah, you're right. What's happening, dude? I like
That was awesome.
Woo. Sam, thank you so much for joining us today. And that was an awesome way to start our show on an energetic note.
Yeah, you're right. Anytime. Thank y'all for having me.
So, can you tell us a little bit about that song that we just heard?
Yeah, man. Pretty much COVID-19, everything is just, we kind of in limbo now. Nobody's shaking hands anymore. You can't hang out with your friends and party anymore. Even when people come and visit, they sit in the driveway and we're standing and wave at them, hey, how you doing? All right, we just have a conversation, maybe like 20 feet apart, just screaming, yeah, all right, well, you be cool too. All right, love you. See you next time. All right. So it's just, about the times that we're in right now, dealing with COVID-19. You did.
Mm. What is it like? You're in New Orleans right now. How is it down there these days with COVID?
It's pretty wild, man. I just found out yesterday that in Louisiana, we're number 2 in the states. So I'm like, God damn, man. Like, we have to get control of this thing, and they're trying to figure out how to get kids back in school, which I'm like, realistically, that shouldn't be a thing at all, because now you're risking all the kids' lives, the teachers' lives, everybody, man. And it's just going to keep spreading if we don't go on like a serious lockdown, as long as everybody's just being all super free about it and not smart, it's just going to continue to spread. So we have to, get a wraps on this thing.
Yeah, we're dealing with similar issues here, and it's wild. I mean, it's so sad at the end of the day.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I've been hearing some things about venues starting to kind of do some social distance kind of things in New Orleans. What's been going on with that?
Yeah, a few venues have been trying to do something to help support the musicians, and that's cool. But at the same time, it's like the venues, they're still not making any money.
Right.
So if they're only like relying on us entertainment to make the money, people come in, and spend money on the show, they get a percentage of that. They buy drinks and stuff like that. People spend on drinks, that's how they make their money, and they're not doing that at all. Then everybody's going to go under like soon. Like it's been 4 months now, I think. Yeah, about 4 months now. So, I mean, people can't last forever without actually working and doing what they do for a living. You dig? Luckily for us as musicians, we're able to do live streams and make something. That's compared to the money that we make when we're on the road and working full time. But it's something. And we can get some of our bills paid here and there. So, fortunately for us, that's a way for us to make some type of income a little bit. But for these venues, man, that's it. Like if they can get a loan, but like I said, it's 4 months in now, and that money is running out if you're consistently paying money towards just the lease of the building or the mortgage of the building alone. So we can't keep living like this. We have to really be responsible and live like real adults again. Because this day to day wondering what's gonna happen next is not cool. You did. I got twin boys. They're 3. Y'all got to excuse them. I had them in a room, but yeah, but that's just what's going on right now. So the venues are around. They're trying to do things so artists can get some exposure and still perform and make some change. But the venues themselves need help as well.
Yeah, I think that's really important for people to consider because a lot of people, they've been able to adapt to working at home or that whatever career they may have. Like they can work at home and it's not affecting them on a personal, living level, like their livelihood is not at stake. But, we talk about wearing masks and being safe because it actually directly affects people in our industry, like, yourself, and especially at the venues, like you're saying, the longer this goes on, the more our whole world is going to collapse around us at the entertainment industry.
That's my biggest fear is like, the venue, like some of these small venues that are barely paying rent to begin with, they're not going to exist. Like so many of those that, make New York, and all these other cities, what it is. It's just New Orleans.
Right.
It's just going to be a different world when we get out of this. It's scary.
Totally. Yeah, man. It's very scary. Even one of the most famous venues here in the city, man, Tipitina's, they're going through it too,
Really?
And the cats from Galactic, they purchased that building just a little while ago, and now they're dealing with this, So, I mean, cats not rich trying to like do this, So it's a struggle, and we all in this thing together. And we just got to keep pushing. but like I said, fortunate for the musicians, I've been streaming every Sunday since March 26th from my driveway,
Wow.
just because I'm like, we got to make something happen, and luckily, we have the fans that support us and send tips and donations, but some people aren't as lucky, so we just got to keep pushing and making sure that, people that we come in contact with directly are doing a responsible thing. And I think if we all did that across the nation, we'll come out on top of this overall, no matter what the government says you should or shouldn't do. Just be smart and know what you should do. You did?
Yeah, be smart and think of other people, think of others.
Exactly.
Because the sooner we can all do that, the sooner we can all, get back
to real life. Right,
And I shared a little thing on the chat about kind of a petition that's going around to help venues that are dealing with closure and back bills, debt, all these things that are not going to go away anytime soon for these venues. It's going to get worse. So there's a petition going around called Save Our Stages. So those of you who are viewing, maybe you can share that on our Facebook too. Any people who are so inclined. You can sign up and you can make some donations. You can get the word out to help our venues because we're going to need them when we get back to work, hopefully.
Yeah, and that's the thing people fail to realize. Like you might think that that we're back to normal, but we're not because the bill's still coming in. All the bills are still coming in. You can only put off where's your mortgage, your car payments, or whatever. You can only put that off for so long. They still want their money. So, we just gotta hang in there, man, and make the best of it. Right now.
Yeah, it keeps getting pushed back too. Philadelphia just canceled any events until end of February. I mean,
wow.
That means there won't be no live music in Philadelphia for a whole straight year.
Right. I mean, New Orleans, we're headed towards that way, man. Some people talking about Mardi Gras. I'm like, y'all what about Mardi Gras? Like, I'm born and raised here. I love Mardi Gras, you dig? But I'm like, that's the least of my concern right now. I'm not worried about Mardi Gras not happening. They're like, oh, how you going to keep us free? Nah, man, let's be smart, man. If we don't get a hold of this thing, man, Mardi Gras is going to be another shit show, you dig? Like, it's going to keep spreading and keep spreading. And then right after that, we have French Quarter Fest, Jazz Fest. In New Orleans, it never stops. We have something like every week, just about, So all of these major events. So we have to be smart. Like, I am not worried about Mardi Gras. I'm worried about the safety of my family, friends, and just like the nation as a whole. I want everybody just to be smart about this thing.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of funny. I've been seeing some posts in recent months or recent weeks, some brass bands from around the country starting to play out on the streets again in a social distance way. It's kind of interesting. It's like that's kind of all we got at this point, as bands to generate income. A lot of bands that don't have a big audience necessarily, that's what we have to do is get out there in a safe way on the streets. It's like full circle almost. It's kind of funny.
Right. Exactly. Right.
Is that going on down there? Are bands like out and about?
Yeah, well, like a lot of bands started trying. I mean, I was like one of the first bands just like fuck it, let's see what happens, Yeah. So we were just in my driveway, but a lot of brass bands like now, man, as of like maybe last month, they're like hitting the streets. But then you have the police stopping them saying, hey, you can't do that. Right. Nobody's wearing masks. And once again, I'm saying be smart about it. And some of them not even streaming; they're just out playing just because it's a way to express ourselves, you dig? So, especially in New Orleans, you got cats either gonna be playing or commit a crime, you dig? So it's like, let the cats play, but cats have to be smart, be responsible, make sure they're not endangering the lives of other people. Because you get a second line together, everybody's gonna come out. If it's going through your neighborhood, you're gonna say, oh snap, you go hit the street and start dancing and getting down with everybody else. Then next thing you know, you have a few hundred people in the streets dancing together, catching that Rona, you did, and that is not cool.
Right. Yeah, it's just sad all around. You like there's no winning in this kind of situation. Right. Unfortunately, you just gotta do the right thing and stay home.
Exactly.
Yeah. So for our viewers, I'm imagining that most, if not all, of our viewers are familiar with you and your work and your legacy and your music. But for those who might not be, would you be able to just tell a little bit about yourself and your music and your upbringing?
Sure. Whew, Lord, I'm an old man now. I gotta get ready for this. All right. So, my name is Sam Williams. They call me Big Sam. Man, what a start! I'm from New Orleans. I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana, born and raised. You dig? Hey man, I'm gonna need you to chill so I can get this out. Oh man. All right, cool. Let's roll with it. So, born and raised from New Orleans, Louisiana. I've always been Big Sam ever since I was a kid. I was always that. I was that kid that was like towering over all the other kids. You dig? So once I started playing music, it just it just stuck with me. So the way I got into music, I was playing basketball as a kid, and it got to a point where I was too big to play with my age group, but too young to play with the older guys. So I was like, okay, I need something else to do. Here in New Orleans, the marching band culture is like huge down here in the South, period, So I said, all right, cool. Well, I'll join the marching band. And went to the band room, told the band director I wanted to play. And in the band, he was like, well, what do you want to play? I said, whatever you need somebody on. And he was like, what, a trombone? I said, well, what's that? So he gave me the trombone, man. And that was the beginning of it all. And I went home that day and just like trying to figure this out, like, man, how you play this thing, And ended up playing like the worst version of Wild Thing ever. I was like, bum, 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 bum. Just all by ear, just trying to figure out how this works, So then I started developing a likeness for the instrument, and I picked up on everything fast. Everything from reading music to just my theory. I was picking up on everything pretty quickly. So by the time I was in high school, my mom bought me a CD called by the Dirty Dust Brass Band called Ears to the Wall. Now this one was completely different than any of their other albums. This one was like their funk album. They had keyboards, electric guitar, they had an electric bass, full drum set. I was like, man, this is funky, man. Like this sounds good. I said this sounds good. I wasn't talking about funky yet. I said this sounds good. I said I'm gonna play with this band one day or have my own band like it. You did. So I learned that album, from front to back, man. Then I started checking out some other cats, a lot of traditional New Orleans cats like Treme and Young Men of Olympia, like Olympia Brass Band, all of the cats here in the city, Preservation Hall, and then while checking all of them out, I'm in high school and I'm like, man, like this is real cool. And my homeboy Walter Wood Ramsey, he wanted to start a brass band, so Walter Wood Ramsey, myself, and my current trumpet player Andrew Baham, we all started the Stooges Brass Band. So whenever you see Little Stooges Brass Band, I'm one of the original founder members of that group. We started
Great
that
band.
group. Thanks, man. Yeah, they still keep killing us today.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole time I'm playing with Stooges, now keep in mind we're all in high school. I'm like 15 years old at this point. I'm in high school and I'm playing with the Stooges Brass Band, and then I ended up playing with the Soul Rebels at the same time too. So I played with Soul Rebels around the same time when I was in high school and a little bit after I graduated for like 4 or 5 years, I want to say.
All right, cool.
And
Was
I'm
Paul with
playing.
them at the time?
Oh, nah. Paul was
Before.
way later. Yeah, this is before all of that. It was me and Winston Turner on trombone. He's actually the trombonist for the Brassaholics right now.
Okay.
So after he left Soul Rebels, he and Tanner, the trumpet player in Brassaholics, they were in Soul Rebels too.
Mm.
Yeah, Tannen Williams and Winston Turner, they were in Soul Rebels, and now they're in Brassaholics. My bad. So they started that group after they departed. So, I was with Soul Rebels, and the whole time all of this is happening now because of the Dirty Dozen Brass Band, and I love them. And I met one of my homegirls. She had a birthday party, a 316. So I'm hanging out in her room during a party, and I'm like, I see all these jazz albums. I'm like, oh, you into Charlie Parker? You have Miles Davis, John Coltrane, Dizzy Gillespie, like all of these jazz albums. I'm like, oh, you into these cats? And she was like, boy, no, that's for my daddy. I said, oh, cool. She was like, yeah, he plays trumpet. I said, oh, that's what's up. Like, for who? She was like, the Dirty Dozen. I said, what? And the Dozen, man, till this day, I want to say they tour maybe 300 days out the year. And I was like, well, where is he? I said, where he at? Where he at? And she said, oh, he's in the other room. He was in town because it was her birthday. He did. So his name is Ephraim Towns. We call him E.T. So I kind of like ditched the party. And I'm like, I'm there. I'm 16 years old, and I'm like, hey man, look, I love you guys. You ever need a trombone player? Y'all give me a call, okay? Y'all ever need a trombone player? Give me a call. He's like, all right, dude. I'll let you know. All right, dude. It's all right, cool. So all while I'm doing this, I also attended NOCA, which is New Orleans Center for Creative Arts. All of the cast of myself, Jonathan Baptiste, Christian Scott, Nicholas Payton, Winton, Terrence Blanchard. Branford, Harry County, all of us, we went to this school. This is like, generation, like all like some like the baddest cats from New Orleans all attended this school. So I was going there. So I was also playing bebop gigs around the city. A lot of cats don't know that I was playing bebop too. I was shitting hard back then. As you get older, and you're working so much, you don't have as much time to share. So that sucks. But I was really like working on my craft back then, like big time. So all while doing that, I started playing at this amusement park in New Orleans. It was called Jazzland. And, we'll do performances there, perform all day long, man, take a break, then perform again. And by this time, in college, I think I was on, I want to say it was right after my first year of college, and I'm performing there. And then I get a call when I'm on my break. I'm 19 years old. And it's E.T. from The Little Dozen. He said, "Hey, dude, what's happening, man?" I said, "Hey, what's happening?" He said, "Hey, how you doing?" I said, "I'm good, just over here at Jazzland, getting it in." He said, "All right, cool." He said, "Hey, dude," he said, "You ready to go on the road?" I said, "Hell yeah." I'm like, "Yeah, let's go." He's all right. He's all right, cool. I said, cool. He said, I said, "When we leave?" He said, "We leave tomorrow." I said, "Tomorrow?" I said, "For how long?" He said, 3 months. I said,
"Oh my God."
I said, "Oh, right." I said, "Okay, let me call my mom and make sure it's okay."
How old are you?
I was
3
19.
months?
Wow. Yeah.
How many shows was that?
Man, it was almost every night,
Oh my God.
because the first show we did, we drove from New Orleans to Rhode Island in a van.
Oh my God.
Wow, that's a drive.
In a van?
And I mean, in a van, bro. It was
people in the
me.
van?
It was like 8 or 9 of us in the van with gear and luggage, no trailer. So imagine that.
That's initiation. That's hazing right there.
Yeah, but that's the real deal. So when cats talk about paying dues, I'm like, look, this is what we did, man. These are things that I went through. So
and they had already been touring for decades at that point, right?
And they had already been doing it. By that point, they had already been doing it over 20 years, man.
Yeah.
30. It was going on 30 at that time,
still grinding like that.
And still grinding like that, man. It's like they never were really like they're making their money, but they just when you're stuck in your ways, you're stuck in your ways. They weren't able to afford it. It wasn't until Terrence Higgins. Terrence Higgins was like, he was a drummer, and he's like, man, well, we ain't got no tour bus. Everybody else got a tour bus. We should have a tour, but man, y'all dirty doesn't pass, man. Y'all famous, man. Y'all worry about we should have a tour bus. And then, sure enough, like the second my third year playing with them, we got a tour bus. So I was like, oh, thank you, Jesus.
Right?
And because all of us used to drive, we all used to drive, man, and we all just took turns, and it was teamwork. It took a lot, but we made it happen. But that first show we did, we drove to Rhode Island, and we did a show out there. And within that first month, we ended up in Colorado at Keystone, Colorado, out in the mountains somewhere. And it was us, Stanley Jordan, and Widespread Panic. Wow. Once again, I'm a 19-year-old black kid. I know Stanley Jordan because he's a jazz musician. I'm like, all right, cool. I had no idea who Widespread Panic was. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Let's do it. So we are, and that's back. I don't know if y'all cats were familiar with them back then, but they had, it's JB, got Sonny, got Mikey. Mikey was still alive on guitar back then. Dave Schools on bass, and it was JoJo on keys. It was the original cats. So I'm like, all right, cool. And we're in the dressing room playing Gilda's playing a Superstition, all the songs that they do during their set. And we're in the mountains, man. It's like nobody out there. We're just out there, just empty field. I'm like, okay, so we're just playing out here to nobody. All right, cool. Like once again, I'm this 19-year-old kid. I don't really know the scene or what it's about. And come showtime, man, there are 20,000 people out there. Wow. And I was like, whoa, this is okay. It was very eye opening. I was like, this is crazy. I gotta figure out how I can do something like this, So the first year after I played with the Dozen, I started my own group. I started Funky Nation. So I want to say this is around 2001. So I started Funky Nation around that time, but I was never in town to play with Funky Nation because I was out literally 300 days out the year, like straight up. So what I did was I started my group, and I got this gig every Sunday night at the Funky Butt here in New Orleans, what used to be here. And even when I left town with the Dozen, I was still let the band perform there. And I was like, all right, cool. It became a whole, mysterious. I'm like, well, who is Big Sam? Like, well, how come we don't see Big Sam? And they would explain, who I was and stuff over the mic. So, want to thank all those cats too that put in that work to keep my name ringing in the city, even when I was out with a dozen. But I did that, man, and it took about around 2004, 2005, where I kind of left Dirty Dozen. I was like, okay, in order for me to, make Funky Nation happen, full time, I have to like leave the dozen and pursue Funky Nation full time to really make this happen for myself. So, and I love the dozen. I mean, we're still cool now. Roger Lewis would tell you that once a dozen, always a dozen, So we have that relationship. We're family, man. I check up on him now, make sure we're all good and stuff, make sure he's cool. If he need anything, so we're all cool. So after I left Dirty Dozen, I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to focus on this. And keep in mind, like with Dirty Dozen, we played with Panic, played with Government Mule, Dave Matthews, did something with James Brown. Like we played with heavy hitters. Like we got it in, you dig? I was like, oh man, this is tight. So I left all that behind just to have nothing and like start my own thing. So I did that, and it's like right after I left them, I get a call from Alan Tucson, and I'm like, oh, yeah. So that was 2005, and I get a call from Alan 2004, 2005, and I joined Alan Tucson's band. So now I'm playing with Alan Tucson and his large ensemble. And like one of the first shows we did was that documentary called Make You Funky, where I actually have Funky Nation on there too. But that's one of the first shows that I did with him. And we backed up like Keith Richards and Binary. I mean, we played with everybody on there. So during that time, I was like, okay. And then Alan Tucson hooked up with Elvis Costello, and then we did an album together. We did a tour together in the U.S. and we also did something overseas. And now it was like 2007, 2008. The album was called Rhythm and Reverse. So now it's 2007, 2008. And I'm like, man, I got to focus on Funky Nation, So lucky for me, Alan wasn't working like a lot. But when he called, I was like, okay, I'll be there. It's Alan Tucson, man. You can't say no to Alan, man. And so I finally started like working with Funky Nation full time around 2007, 2008. And that was like my primary income. I was like, this is all that I'm doing. I'll go and do something with other people here and there, but this is what I need to focus on. I need to make this happen. So ever since then, I've been out grinding with Funky Nation. Had a van like the dozen, the old church van. Hit the road. I'm doing 99.9% of the driving. If I get tired, my cats they have my back, but I'm doing all the driving. I'm doing everything. I'm the tour manager. Just grinding, man, just getting it in, So, main reason I was doing it too is because, like when we get to a venue, we have, you might have a 12, 13-hour drive or whatever. To get somewhere, I want my cats to be relaxed. So I was like, I take on that responsibility of like being worn out and then just, muster up the strength to like put on a great show. But I want them to be relaxed. I don't want them to have to worry about anything. So I did all that, and, I didn't have like a lot of money behind me to be able to make that happen. So I was like, hey, you gotta happen. I gotta do it. Let's just make it happen and get out here and grind. And if I back up a little bit, some of the cats that I studied with back in school, well, the first cat I hooked up with in middle school when I started playing was Darryl Dickerson, and then I hooked up with Kid Jordan, Kent Jordan, Jonathan Bloom, Clyde Kirk Jr. It was a lot of people that I ended up studying with. Even when I was in college, I studied with Ellis Marcellus, and just took everything that I learned from all of those cats to try to like do my own thing, and the knowledge that they taught me, and shared with me to do my own thing and bring that to the road. The Dirty Dozen, just being on the road with the dozen for all of those years, though, man, that's a lesson on its own. You can't learn that in school or anywhere. You have to experience that and deal with that. Mm-hmm. So I'm grateful to everybody that had a part in my career. You did. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much everything, in a nutshell. And even now, I'm still grinding, still getting in there, still getting it in, especially during COVID-19. Still putting out new music here and there. Just put out a new single. Doing the video y'all just showed, No More Shakes. Just did that. The last album I did was called Songs in the Key of Funk, Volume 1. I'm working on Volume 2 right now. It'll be out by the end of the year. And I play a lot of festivals. I tour with Funky Nation and done a lot of festivals, play with a lot of people. And, we're hungry. So we just want to keep getting after it. You did?
Well, you've answered all my questions without me asking. That's great.
That's amazing.
Thank you for sharing like such an important glimpse, I think, for our viewers to the life of a musician, and not just a musician, but critical and as important musicians such as yourself to the landscape of American music. And I think it's great for listeners to kind of get an idea of what it's like to be a musician, what our paths, are like, and what your path was like. And I mean, it's definitely interesting for me. And I just want to say that you deciding to forge your own career with your own band, it's an inspiration for other trombonists across the world to see that a trombone player can, front a band, right? A trombone player can have your own sound, have your own voice, and kind of be an integral instrument in mainstream music. So on behalf of all trombone players across the world, thank you for making that sacrifice, putting in that.
Thank you, man.
It's not easy.
Yes, it's not. And people sleep on that. They're like, a trombone? Like, what? People don't look at a trombone as, as a lead instrument, especially, to front a band. So to do it, man. And at the time I was just like, I got to make it happen. Just got to do it, But people found out on trombones, man. Like if you look up like jokes from musicians, you'll find the most about trombones. Like that's cold blooded, yeah, man. Like come on, man. Like I can't even remember because I try to just ignore those kind of jokes. They're like, what do you call a professional trombonist or whatever? To a person without a job or something like that. I'm like, come on, man. Man. But yeah, but it's cool, man. But I appreciate it, man. And we just got to keep pushing and making known that hey, we do this thing too. You dig?
Yeah. And you're setting the bar so high, or you're honestly, like, to me, it's hard for me to think of anybody that's pushing the boundaries of what the trombone is capable of doing, even,
yeah, you're right.
And so I think you're really inspiring to myself and so many other trombonists across the world. So I'm very thankful for the hard work that you've done.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. So I'm interested because, in Lucky Chops, we have an instrumentation that is, could be like attributed to a brass band, but we, we're not from New Orleans and we're from New York City. We grew up in a very, diverse city with people from all over the world as our friends, as childhood friends growing up. So these sounds from, different countries all over the world have always been in our ears. So our music is it's not really traditional New Orleans brass band music. And we are still so kind of just in awe of New Orleans brass band music, even though that's not really the sound that we go for. And I've always been so intrigued by New Orleans brass band music history. And you're somebody who's lived that, like your life. You've gone through that history and been an integral part of it. So I'm curious. I have a question. So you have like Olympia, Treme, and then Dirty Dozen. What was the bridge from this to this? Because it seems like to me, Dirty Dozen's ushered in this new generation, new sound of brass music that continues to the day. But what was the link that got from the traditional sound to this modern sound?
Dirty Dozen. They were the ones, man. Like if it wasn't for Dirty Dozen, you wouldn't have your Rebirth, you wouldn't have your Soul Rebels, you wouldn't have your Stooges, your Hot Eight, all these other brass bands coming up right now. If it wasn't for the Dozen, they're the ones that implemented that sound. So what they started doing, don't forget, back in the day, bebop was mainstream. You dig? So the Dozen started taking those songs and incorporating it in Second Line. You dig? So by them doing that, and then they started taking even more popular songs once the time started changing, like James Brown. They started incorporating that into Second Line. So by them doing that, that just bridged the gap together. You dig? So they're responsible for the sound of all brass bands today, whether some of these brass bands want to, acknowledge it or not. They're the bridge. They bridged the gap together. And Rebirth came right after them and took it to another level. So even more So by then mainstream radio had changed, and then Rebirth took it to another level, playing more, started playing more like Stevie Wonder and Michael Jackson and stuff like that. And then it just kept going. Then you had Soul Brothers come along. Soul Brothers playing all of those songs, but then also adding hip hop to it, because at the very beginning, I mean, Soul Brothers, a lot of people don't know, they've been very hip hop oriented, So and they also changed the sound up a lot too. They weren't like the traditional brass band. They didn't have that typical brass band sound. They flipped the beat and had some funk and some hip hop in their style, So all that just kept going. That's what I mean. Like each generation brings something different to the table, and the sound just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's why it's hard to like categorize New Orleans music, man, just because we hear so much and we want we create our own musical gumbo, man, and we just make everything what we want it to be. We don't care if you say, oh, this is funk, oh, this is second line, oh, this is whatever. We just know the shit is banging. It's either good or it's banging. So our overall goal is just to make good music, man, and make people dance and enjoy themselves, feel good about themselves, as well as us, when we play, we feel good. We feel that music too. So I don't think it's just y'all out in the crowd. We feel that, and we feel that love and that energy, and we just want to bring it back to y'all.
Mm. How has it been from you to transition from? I mean, you've been doing it for a long time, but like playing in brass bands to now to Funky Nation, which would you call Funky Nation a brass band?
No, and a lot of people do. That's the thing. Just because I'm a trombone player from New Orleans, they call it a brass band. Mm-hmm. And I don't call it a brass band because I'm from New Orleans and I know what we call brass bands, Mm-hmm. But other people call them brass bands, one, because I'm from New Orleans, but also it's led by a brass player, and I have a trumpet player. So they say, oh, brass, and it's a band. So it's a brass band. Even my first Offbeat award I won was Best Emerging Brass Band. And I'm like, nothing brass band about this, bro. Like what you mean? But it was cool. I accepted it, of course. But I was just like, there's nothing. But coming out of New Orleans, that was really weird for me because I'm like, we don't have a tuba, we don't have the traditional backline set. We don't have a bass drum and a snare drummer. It was like, man, come on, bro. Like, But I'm like, it's all good. But nah. Funky Nation isn't your traditional brass band. It's not a brass band at all, really. Right. We play funk. And that's what I try to get people to realize, early. And see, here's the thing, we all evolve. So when I first started Funky Nation, it was more of a jazzy funk kind of band. If you go back and listen to Birth of a Nation, I know that's something else, but I was like, whatever. If you go back and listen to Birth of a Nation, it's funky, but it's jazzy and it's a little bit more laid back. And then over the years, it gets, it developed into like what it is now. Even on Evolution, I started digging more into rock because I was hanging with my boy Doug Wimbish and Corey and Vernon Reed, all the cats from Living Color. And I was like, ooh, and I started listening to more Pantera and Chili Peppers and all these cats, man. I'm like, man, I like this. Let me do this on the trombone. I started bringing my pedals out. So if people listen to King of the Party, it started with that, actually. If people listen to King of the Party, that's me taking a solo with pedals. It's not a guitar. Some people think it's guitars. That's me taking solos on my trombone with pedals, with effects. And then when I did Evolution, I left the effects alone. But, we were still digging into some rock, man. But, yeah, everything just evolves, man. And that's just what it is. So, like, now, now I feel like I'm at home because the sound that I have now is more of a 80s funk, 70s and 80s funk, still mixed with like some New Orleans gumbo, you dig? So it's still different. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's like Bruno Mars. Like when I did Coffee Pot on Evolution, because we still have some funky cuts on there. But I did Coffee Pot I wrote Coffee Pot back, I don't know when that album came out. I'm old. But because of the lack of like having money to be able to fund the album and all that kind of stuff, I wrote Coffee Pot 2 or 3 years before we even released it on the album, So when Bruno Mars came out with what was the first hit? Not first hit, but the one that was hot.
The funky one?
Too Hot with
Uptown Funk?
Uptown.
Yeah, Uptown Funk.
Yeah.
Called Police and the Fireman. Yeah, people were like, that sounds just like your song. Like, just because I wrote it, years ago. But it's just that, it's that style, man, and that's why I'm with it now. Like that's the vibe, and I love rock too. And if I could do a rock album and just call it something else, that's cool. But I just thought it wasn't appropriate for a Funky Nation to be playing rock. Even I'm in New Orleans for the Big Easy Awards now, that we won like best rock band, Big Ten's Funky Nation, best rock band, best rock album. I'm like, oh, cool. But and the main thing with that though, man, I like to dance and have fun on stage, and the rock songs that I was writing, people would sing along, but I wasn't able to dance as much, But so now dealing with the phone, I can dance as much, still make catchy hooks, have people sing along, and just have a good time, bring a party nonstop. So that's where I'm at with it now. It just feels good, So if you think of Mars Day, the Gap Band, P Funk, I feel like I incorporate all of that into like what we do now with some gumbo.
Being able to have music that provides a dancing atmosphere, I think it's such a powerful thing because it connects everybody in the room together.
Yeah,
right? Everyone can be part of that experience,
right?
Because the dancing is contributing to the music and contributing to the artist, and the artist is contributing to the dance. So we love that approach, and definitely when I hear your music, makes me want to dance, even though I'm a terrible dancer.
Yeah, hey man, it's all about how you feel it though, you dig? So you good. As long as you're dancing, you're good. I don't care what it looks like.
Well, I don't know about that because I'll never forget. Darrow was with me. We were in New Orleans many, many, many years ago. We were at Celebration Hall?
It was 2013.
Yeah.
We were at Celebration Hall.
Whoa,
checking out TBC.
What y'all doing at Celebration Hall? Okay, cool. That's all right. That's fine.
Checking out TBC.
That makes sense. All right, cool.
And I couldn't help myself, and I had to start dancing. As you said, the music it compels you, and I'm the biggest fool of myself I've ever made in my entire life. Hands down, at night, bar none. What are those called? Red, white, and blues. Those had something to do with it as well. But yeah, I was trying my hand at second line dancing. My goodness. It was hilarious.
Cool. You were doing kind of like a foot shuffly kind of swing dance, sort of second line synthesis.
Where's the video?
I know. I wish there was. Cue it up, Josh.
Right.
Oh my God! But man, that night, wow! And TBC. I had been a fan of that band for a while because
TBC goes hard, bro.
In the front,
I think that changed all of our lives actually going there.
Yeah.
I'd seen the videos, but I'd never seen them live. And they have, they have a bunch of trombone players, and they're all playing the main parts. I love it, and they're going for it, giving 100%.
Oh, yeah,
that's the way to go.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like the culture is the culture, and it's always evolving and growing. And even like TBC, they've been around for a minute now too, and they kill it every time, bro. Every time I hear them, I'm just like, God damn, like. These dudes killing. They opened for us at Harris once too, and I was like, man, they just knocking heads off. Like, good Lord,
Go for it.
Yeah, they go for it. I mean, and I love it. I can't knock it, brother. Them some bad dudes.
Yeah. Oh, I think I feel the same way with you, and I think it's like anybody who's watching this, check out Sam's music because you feel like it's 100%. Being in the moment, giving yourself 100%. And that's something that we love to encourage our younger musician fans to do. Give 100% of yourself when you play. And there's no need to hold back. You don't have to be concerned about what other people are going to think of you if you're getting into the music. Free yourself of that fear and just go 100%. And that's what I feel when I listen to your music. Is that something that you are conscious of at all, Sam?
No, I mean, I just tell people all the time, man. I'm like, don't worry about what the next person thinks about you. Like as long as you feel good and you're happy and you're doing what you want to do, just do it. Like the hell with everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just what I live by. Like even musicians, like I appreciate you all dig the music, but if y'all didn't like the music, I'm like, all right, cool. Like, all right, cool. Y'all not paying my bills, So as long as you have your fan base appreciate the music and you appreciate what you're creating and you're having fun doing it and you're being true to yourself, that's all that matters, man. Like, don't worry about all that other stuff. You dig? Like, just do you, plain and simple, and that's what it is.
Yeah, and music allows you to really be yourself and have a unique voice. And everyone is capable of that, or we believe that. And
I believe it.
if you're too concerned about what other people think about yourself, you are not going to discover your voice.
Nope.
So, it's something we always like to tell people, but any young people watching this, don't be afraid to explore your own musical voice and go for it.
Do your thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, we had talked about this for a second before the show, and to me, I just can't even really believe that. So from what I was able to discover, your great grandpa, it was Buddy Bolden.
Yeah, you're right.
Does anybody know who Buddy Bolden was, or have you heard the name before? Or you seen that there was a movie about this guy like recently? So Buddy Bolden is pretty much the originator of jazz, as far as we know.
Yeah, like Pops looked up to him. If y'all don't know, we call Louis Armstrong Pops. So Louis Armstrong looked up to him. All of the cats looked up to him because he was the dude. You dig? And I told you, like, even in the family, man, it's just we only know stories. The stories that everybody know, and that there are no recordings of them, and it's on like 1 or 2 pictures, and that's it. Yep. It's like a real mysterious cat. You dig? But one thing that we have in common is that big old sound. And if you never heard me or seen me live or whatever, apparently I have a huge sound, and it would say that you could hear his sound from across the river. And if I play like by the river, I'm sure you can still hear it. I used to play at a spot here every Sunday called the Funky Bud, and I would, people come out like, man, we were on Bourbon Street and we heard you playing like from 6 blocks away. Like we were like, that got to be a big sound, man. So they'll come over, but yeah, it's the same kind of thing, man. Just I feel like it's just hereditary because I'm not doing it on purpose. It just comes out that way,
And I mean, I think I could be mistaken, but I believe that Buddy Bolden's band was called the Funky Bud.
Yeah.
Band.
Yeah. So to make a long story start with that. Yes. And they played at the Funky Bud Hall.
Right.
So the club on Rampart used to be called the Funky Bud. And my ex-wife and I purchased that spot back then,
Really?
Like a few, around 2003? No, 2004. Because I was still doing some dozen stuff and all that kind of stuff too. So and then I left and I was focused on that. But yeah, we on it for a good while up until Katrina. And then after Katrina, everything just went, we were going to reopen on Frenchman Street before Frenchman Street became the spot because we saw what is about to happen, right? And the deal fell through. People got money hungry, and it was going to be where Louisiana Music Factory is now on Frenchman, and Offbeat is above it. It was going to be down. It was going to be down below there where Louisiana Music Factory is now. But the guy wanted more money than he wanted before Katrina happened. And just so y'all know, typically when we have a hurricane threat in New Orleans, we think we're going to leave town for, the weekend, leave for 2 or 3 days, come back, nothing's happened, you're all good. Well, that wasn't the case this time around. And when we did reach out to this guy to, move the Funky Bud to Frenchman Street, guy wanted more money, and we were just like, well, no, that's it. And the landlords that were at the Rampart location, they were slumlords. So we were like, okay, we're just gonna have to close and figure out something else later. So, but that never happened, and the Funky Bud still closed down because of that. But the Funky Bud was one of those spots where everybody owned their craft and developed their skills, man. And he had, like I say, you had cats like Wayne, Nicholas Payton, Terrence Blanchard, all of us, Shorty, Jonathan Baptiste, myself, all of us came up playing in these clubs, and specifically that one. And that's where all the magic happened, bro. You'll have jams go till the sun come up, literally. Like, I remember playing and the sun come up and we'll still be going like it ain't no thing, Like, that was the spot in New Orleans.
Wow, that's sad that it closed.
Yeah.
But it's cool that it eventually passed down kind of like in the lineage to you.
Exactly. And that's what was so cool about all of that. We were like, oh, this is meant to be, It's
crazy, man.
Yeah.
Wow. That was really amazing. So like a lot of our fans are kids, and Lucky Chops, they might not really remember or be aware of the devastation that Katrina had on New Orleans, music scene, community, and city in general. And you were telling a little bit about how coped during that time, and you moved to San Antonio, right? Is that right?
Yeah, I went to when I left for Katrina, I ended up in San Antonio. I don't want to say I moved there. Let's say that's where I ended up.
Okay.
That's some strong words. I didn't have a choice. So, yeah, I ended up in San Antonio, Texas, man, and it's not really a music town. They had one spot I can't even. Matter of fact, they had this one spot I can't remember the name of it, but they had a picture of me on their wall, and I got in there and I sat in with Ryan Wilson and a few other cats, man. And then they got mad, and I was playing loud because I play loud, and they didn't want me to come back in there spot and play. And I was like, "Well, take my picture down."
Wow.
Hey, but they left it up, and I was
That's
like,
messed
"Man,
up.
yeah." I'm like, "Man, they job for this, man." But yeah, but besides that spot, the only other spot they had was the Riverwalk, and that was
Right.
more traditional jazz. And it wasn't. I mean, it's not. I was driving to Austin, Texas, to hide my boy Topaz and a few other cats that I know in Austin, Texas, like 3 or 4 times a week, bro. And it was on like a 30-minute drive, so I was making that hike. But I would drive. But I would also drive to New Orleans every weekend to try to help rebuild the community and you know keep this music thing going, man. Because the city was a ghost town, bro. When I tell you, we just had a bad smell. I mean, how young is your audience? I don't want.
Yeah. They're
I mean,
old enough to know what happened. Like they should know at least.
yeah. Well, it was like it just smelled like death, man. Because you had dead bodies like sitting in the water for weeks because the government didn't react in a timely time frame. It was just bad, man. You saw nothing but like pigeons everywhere, like eating stuff off the ground. It was bad, man, and it smelled everywhere. It was horrible. But I came back as much as I could. Pretty much almost like every weekend. I drove 9 hours back here, then 9 hours back to San Antonio every weekend. Then I would drive to Austin at night during the week to jam with some of my homeboys in Austin, Texas, man. And it was a lot for those 2 years. And then I eventually moved back. I was like, man, I just got to get back home because I can't stand not being at home. Just born and raised, man. This is what I know. So I'm like, I got to get back here and make it happen. And been cool ever since then. So that's cool. I'm glad everything worked out. But Katrina was something else, bro. It did a number on all of us. Even though it tried to like kill our culture, though, we're not going to let that happen. And a lot of areas are gentrified now, mainly because of Katrina. Some people couldn't afford to come back. Insurance companies were getting low on people. They were like, "Oh, well, your house didn't flood. You had a hole in your roof, so the rain came in through your roof." It's like stuff like that. It's like, bro, like really. And a lot of people didn't get their insurance money, so insurance companies came out on top. And then other people came in and just took over, man, and started, buying up properties for buku cheap. And that was the beginning of it all right there. The same people who were moved to New Orleans because the Funky Boat was on Rampart, right? Right on the outside of the French Quarter, right across from Armstrong Park. It was the Funky Bud. It was Diners Bar and Grill where a lot of the brass bands played. And you had another spot right down from there that came up like a few years later called King Bowden's, which is funny. Um, and that was the spot, man. That's like where everybody was at. And there are people come in town and move in and be like, we love New Orleans. We love the music. We want to move down here. The music is right there. It's so awesome. So then they get to New Orleans, move right where they say they love and where they want it to be, and then they complain to the city saying that the music is too loud coming from the buildings. So then they have this whole noise ordinance thing, and they're trying to shut the venues down early, and tell them they got to close the doors and no music can come out. So look, we were here first. We've been doing this, and y'all trying to come and regulate, But then the city, because money talks, the city would give in and try to make the clubs close down or close down early or keep the music at a certain decibel. And I'm just like, this sucks, man. It's like the musicians have no voice. No matter how much we fight back on that, we can't fight, the transplants money, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's really sad. It comes at the expense of the actual identity of the city itself.
Right. Exactly. And another reason, man, like another reason why the Funky Butt closed in the first place too, because a lot of people don't know. Like they used to be like, man, the club being ran down to the ground. No, one, we had slumlords, and then two, the city, not the mayor at the time. The mayor at the time was cool, but the powers that be in the city didn't want there to be music on Rampart anymore. They had decided that they wanted it to be, we have streetcars in New Orleans, so they decided they wanted a streetcar line there. They wanted more condos and apartments and hotels and stuff on that street. And I would tell people, I was like, man, look, like, it's not, I'm not control. I can't do anything. This is their plan. This is what they really want to do. And no one believed me. I was like, well, I can't make people believe me. I'm not the type that's going to go back and forth with somebody to make them see my side of things. You did. So, first, Funky Butt closed. A year or two later, Donna's Bar and Grill closed. And King Bowden's ended up closing. I don't even know when they closed. It just almost like it never even existed now. And sure enough, man, if you go there right now today, maybe as of 2 or 3 years ago, they have a streetcar line running on Rampart again, like they used to have way back in the day before any of us were here. They have condos, they have hotels. And my main argument back then was like, well, if those people, if you want this, wouldn't it make sense to leave the music venues because that's why people are coming?
Right.
Nope. Not to them. They just wanted that money from the condos and the hotels and streetcar line, all of that. They couldn't care less, man. So, that's what, I was dealing with back then. And now it's all here. All of that came to fruition. And I'm just like, I told y'all that was the plan. It wasn't going to happen overnight. It took, Katrina, 15 years ago? Oh, ooh, Lord.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, 15 years. Jesus. So, yeah, it took that long for them to really get things the way that they wanted. So I want to say about 12, 13 years then. So, yeah, that's like just something else that we have to deal with here in the city.
It's crazy. Like you would think that it makes business sense to keep the venues there, which is why people go to New Orleans in the first place.
Yep.
Doesn't make any sense
at all. And the same thing started happening on Frenchman Street. Frenchman Street became the new spot where everything was popping. People would move in right across the street, moving right around the corner, move in that neighborhood because they love the vibe. They love, that it's so, quintessentially like New Orleans. So I'm like, cool, that's cool. But then they get here, they're like, oh shit, there's music going on nonstop all night. When you came here, you hung out in the club till 3, 5 in the morning, and you loved it, and that's why you moved here. And now that you moved here, you hate it, and you want to get rid of it. You want to kill it. You can't kill our culture. Go back to where you came from with all that. So that's some of our battles here.
I think it's important for viewers to realize that without that music culture, without the actual venues 24/7 cranking out music, you wouldn't have any music that you listen to on the radio today.
Right.
If that wasn't the case, if this tradition hasn't been going on, if it was just cut out, 100 years ago, if Buddy Bolden was told he couldn't play after 10 p.m., well, you might not have Bruno Mars today, on the radio.
Absolutely.
And I think it's important for people to realize that it's a sequence of events that leads to the, future of music. Without the actual, promotion of culture and encouragement for musicians to be making music, you're not going to have entertainment as you know it in the future, a generation from today. That makes me really sad to hear. I hear these stories about New Orleans and kind of like getting, culture kind of pushed out, and it makes me really sad. And I wish there was something that we could do to prevent that from happening. Yeah.
It's sad, man. My homeboy Glenn David Andrews, another great trombonist, man, great vocalist, great entertainer, bad dude. He had a second line because we second line for everything in New Orleans. Whether it's a protest or a celebration, whatever, a funeral, we're going to celebrate in second line. And he did one, and it was called, Music Is Not a Crime. Because another thing that we all had to deal with, even as kids, and they're still dealing with it today, man, is that, believe it or not, like New Orleans is like the birthplace of jazz. Like we created this thing, this is what we do. But you deal with some city officials and some police officers that's trying to kill it. So even when I didn't been arrested, well, not officially arrested, but I've been handcuffed so many times and chased after with the police just because we were playing music, And all of my homeboys attest to that. They'll tell you we used to have to like run away from the cops because once they do once they do like, detain you there in person or whatever, they don't want to hear anything you have to say because, you're just a dumb kid and you don't know anything. You don't know any better. So they want to like try to tell you what to do. And it's like, man, like, come on, we're just playing music. We're not out here with nobody's robbing, nobody's stealing, nobody's killing anybody. We're out here playing music. Y'all want to come and harass us for this? Come on, man. Like, get off of that. And it's sad that, I dealt with that back when when I was a teenager 11 years ago. And, and some younger cats are still dealing with it now, man. I'm just like, bro, like when is this going to stop? It's absolutely ridiculous. Like, you can't kill our culture. This is what we do, man. This is our livelihood.
Yeah, and it's an issue in New York as well, but it definitely shouldn't be an issue in New Orleans, where that's the DNA, of that music. That's how it gets passed down from generation to generation, and evolution and all this stuff. It comes from that. So to shut that down and to be persecuted for that, to me, it seems so wrong, especially because that's healing. Like by offering music in the streets, that's actually benefiting society, in a deep level, in an emotional level. Like it's giving back. It's offering selflessly to others, like to heal their souls. So yeah, it really makes me sad to hear that.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Obviously, right now, so much attention is on support for people dealing with COVID and, the economic effects of that for musicians. But I was wondering if there are any campaigns or, anything that musicians around the country or our viewers can support to support New Orleans outside,
Check out Macno, MACCNO. Hold up. My phone's about to die, so I got to put it on the charger. I thought it was going to make it. I was like, hold up. But check out Macno, man, MACCNO. And what they're doing, they're fighting for all, like, musicians' rights here in New Orleans, you did? And it's protecting our rights, making sure cats don't go to jail, and making sure we have the right to perform on the streets. Even during like COVID-19, they're making sure that cats are taken care of, like paying a bill here and there as much as they can. They're not a huge nonprofit, but they're definitely helping cats that are like struggling, getting assistance during this time.
Cool.
That's great. Yeah, I'll put it in the chat right now,
cool,
so that folks can get involved.
Also, we had done a little fundraiser earlier, a couple weeks ago, for there was a campaign going around to help support New Orleans brass band musicians out of work.
Nice.
Maybe we can pull that up and put that in the chat as well.
Yeah,
and we'll put all your
awesome.
Sam.
What's that?
Well, and we'll put all your links, personal links as well, so people can tune into your live streams. Are you doing one this Sunday?
Yeah. So it's been like 4 months now, man. So so every Sunday, I'm doing a live stream from my driveway, just because I'm like, what else are we gonna do? So I do a live stream from my driveway at 12 p.m. Central Time every Sunday. We do like 45 minutes in the driveway because it's extremely hot. So we can't play, too long. It's very hot. I even had to get a tent because, y'all play horns. I had my horn sitting out one time out in the sun. And we're playing, and I picked my horn up. It's on video. If you go through some of the videos, you can see it. I picked my horn up, and I burnt my lip. I was like, oh, man. So I had to let it cool off in the shade for a minute before I could play again. And that shit hurt like hell. I was like, oh, my God. But, So after that, I got a tent. We can sit in the shade a little bit so it don't get too hot, But yeah, man, in New Orleans right now, it's, you get up to, it's raining right now, but, you get like 100-some degrees, and we just been out there in the heat trying to deal with it. So, but we're like, well, at least we'll fight that Rona off if we got it, fight the Rona off. But yeah, man, but that's cool. And that's cool that y'all doing that too. I appreciate y'all helping cats out, man, because even Mac, the thing is, the government isn't set up to like help us. You know what I mean? Like they don't know how self-employed, especially musicians, work, and they don't understand it. So, I know a lot of cats getting unemployment. It took a minute for that to get right, for cats to be able to see any kind of financial assistance. And even with some of these loans, man, even like Music Cares and some of them, they're like asking too many I understand you have to ask a lot of questions, but what they don't realize that specifically, like, if you're dealing with some New Orleans musicians who only play on the street, they don't get taxes, they don't file taxes and stuff like that, but they still need help, you know. And I understand some people are like, well, that's not their problem, they should file taxes and all this kind of. But you're playing for tips, and that's your livelihood. You make good money doing it, but they still need help to support their family because this is a crisis right now. This pandemic is out of hand, and cats can't support their families. They're not making any money at all. So I appreciate y'all helping the cats out too. That's what's up.
Yeah, it's a team effort. So hopefully other viewers from around the world can help continue the legacy of this music that we all love and the music that has created any music that you listen to on the radio nowadays.
Yeah, that's right.
It all comes from there. So
yeah,
it's important to support, and pay respect to where it's due.
You're right.
So we're gonna. Do you have a couple? We're gonna go to like a after hours, just post hang, just like chilling out and kind of just hanging out for a couple minutes if you have the time. If you got to go, totally understand. No pressure either way.
All good.
But before we do that, just wanted to see if any viewers have any questions for Sam. This has been like my personal, just like getting to talk with one of my influencers and heroes. So it's been mainly selfish for me, but I wanted to give an opportunity for other people to ask any questions that they might have, or Chops members as well.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I saw a question earlier from one of my saxophone students who's a young tenor player in Texas, and he's got big dreams and big ambitions, and he's really putting all this stuff together. And he asked what it was like going on tour at such a young age.
It was awesome, man. It was surreal. Like, it's beyond anything I ever thought it was going to be, Even being crammed up in the van it was like more than what I thought it was going to be. Especially like hooking up with the people and realizing who they were and getting the chance to play with them at such a young age. I'm like, man, this is like pretty cool. It took Stanley Jordan, because we played a lot together during that time, It took Stanley Jordan to he looked at me like, Sam, like, do you realize how young you are? Like, do you realize like what you're doing right now? Excuse me. And like the level that you're doing it on. And I was like, I hadn't really thought of it. I'm 19. I don't know nothing, And he's like, yeah, this is pretty important, man. Just keep doing what you're doing, and just keep pushing. I'm like, all right, cool, thanks, man. Even him, like, I knew he was Stanley Jordan, but I had no idea that he was like Stanley Jordan. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, man. But yeah, just going out on the road at such a young age, it was awesome, man. And the thing is, I went to college that year and I had a 4.0 that whole first year of college, which was cool. And when I told my mom that I wanted to go out on the road, she was like, well, baby, no, what about school? You're doing so well and all this kind of stuff. And I was just like, well, this is what I'm going to school for. So if I have this opportunity right now, I should take advantage of it. You did? And she's like, well, okay, well, just promise me that if it doesn't work out, you'll go back to school. I said, bet. Cool. Fortunately for me, it all worked out. So I was like, all right, cool. Well, we're all good then,
Cool. There's a question from somebody on Facebook who says, Sam, who is a better dancer, you or Drew?
Drew's a better dancer. He taught me everything I know. That's Big Brother right there. Who asked that question?
A viewer named Eddie.
Eddie Hayes?
Yep.
All right, Eddie, I see you, bro. Drew's a better dancer.
Sam, since you that point where you started being taken it under the wing of legends in the music, from then until now, having become the force that you are as a leader and individual personality, musician, and everything, what would you say some of the most important things that you've learned along the way are?
Be honest and truthful and straight up with cats. You know what I'm saying? As far as dealing with business, like cats, some cats like to beat around the bush, and I'm a straightforward kind of dude. I don't beat around the bush. If I need you for something or whatever, I'm like, hey, can you do this? It's paying this, and I give people all the information they need up front. I don't wait to see if they can say they can do it. Just like little things like that, man. And I feel like I'm very fair with people. You know, I'm fair and I'm honest. The one thing I took from playing with Alan and Elvis, man, was that they treated all of us with so much respect, man, like such a high level of respect. And they have the means to do so. So say like we all flew and we had like a 15-piece band. I don't even know what kind of plane we were on, but they would make sure that everybody that was in the band flew first class with them, wherever we went, you know. All of the hotels were like 5-star, 5-diamond, whatever hotels that we all stayed in the Ritz-Carlton and you know, St. Regis and like those kind of like hotels. All having like, you know, we all had like our own suites, you know, and those cats just, they treated us so great, man. I'm just like, man, look, like from that moment, I was like, I want my cats to like, I want to treat my cats the same way, you know, and that's why like I don't have the means to do it. But even when we're driving, I'm like, okay, I'm going to drive. I'm going to take. I want my cats to relax and just take it easy and be able to put on a hell of a show once we do that. Okay? So all of that part of me, you know, comes from them. You know, that part that's instilled in me comes from seeing how they, you know, ran their operations. So yeah, that's what I'll say. Just be fair with people, honest and straight up.
Mm-hmm.
Wise words.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're right.
All right. Well, got some more fun questions.
Any other questions?
Yeah. What's your favorite type of bean?
Red beans.
Red beans. There we go.
Red beans and rice, baby. Some cornbread, some fried chicken. Look, we good.
Oh, you're making me hungry. Somebody else asked, how do you write
now,
songs?
so I can't eat that anyway. No,
What'd you
it's
say?
cool. I said I'm on a diet now, though, so I can't eat that. I got back up to 290 doing this quarantine, so I got to get back down to 250.
Well, you know, I'll have your portions of red beans. I'll eat it on your behalf.
Good, Josh. Now, what was that next question?
What you know, do you have a preferred approach to writing your own songs?
Not really. You know, for me, sometimes I might have the melody first, without lyrics. You know, sometimes I might have a drum groove first, or maybe just a bass line. It always starts kind of like that, either melody, a drum groove, or a bass line. For me, it's never come to me any other way. Like, it's weird, but that's how I've been rocking now for some years. Even the song I wrote when I was 16 that the Stooges played and then the Dirty Dozen played, the two called Ain't Nothing But a Party. I wrote that song when I was 16, and the tuba part came first. I was like, all right, cool. I was 16 when I wrote that, and Stooges played it, and then Dirty Dozen played it, because back then the Dozen wasn't really, you know, they weren't really rehearsing a lot, you know, when I got in the band, but they needed a new album, and I said, well, I have this song, and they decided to play it. And matter of fact, we actually did the first Bonnaroo, very first Bonnaroo we played, and Bonnaroo actually used my song for their CD and DVD, which both sold 100,000 each on their compilation. So I was like,
wow, nice.
I was like, nice. You know, I was like, man, I wrote this when I was 16, and I'm like, all right, I'm still saying it today. I'm like, all right, cool. That's what's up. But yeah, man. But yeah, for me, it's always one of those three: the drum groove, the bass line, or the melody. And then I just build from there. Teach his own, though.
Advice, kids. You hear that? Chops, any last questions before we go to our after hours hangout?
Well, yeah, I just want to say thank you so much to Sam, and thank you so much to our awesome viewers for, you know, checking this out and being engaged. And the MACNO, the Music and Culture Coalition of New Orleans, please check that out, and we'll post more information about that on our social media stuff as well. It's, you know, it's so important, and this ongoing work needs to be, you know, it's a long-term commitment that we all need to be, you know, in it for the long haul.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, if you want to tune into the after hours stream, go to the Lucky Chops Patreon, where you can see the director's cut of today's hangout. As it were. Lucky Chops. Patreon.com/Lucky Chops. All right. Sam, thank you. And we will go to our post cap right now.
Thanks,
whatever
man.
you want to call it.
Appreciate it.